In the early days of spring 2021, a few strong anime had a monopoly on what they thought was just a relatively average season. They thought they had it set at the top of the food chain, until a disturbance in the balance of anime was felt across the globe. Gikuk felt it, Mother's Basement felt it, Hiding in Public felt it, and of course the Anime Culture Corner, certified biggest and bestest anime channel on YouTube, felt it as well. No one could have foreseen, except for me, I'm sorry, that Odd Taxi would jump up to the number 32 spot on MyAnimeList uncontested after its final episode, a thrilling, mystery-resolving, and cliff-hanging conclusion that blew us out of the park. Was Odd Taxi our underrated king of 2021? The anime YouTube community certainly thinks it is, but, alas, it is not. Because not only is there a series even more underrated than Odd Taxi from this past season, but after its conclusion and series finale, it is rated even better as well. A show that I dug my fingers into weeks ago, initially just in it for all of its time travel galore, but afterwards realizing the absolute magnificence and masterclass that is Link Click. A donghua, a Chinese anime that is scored better than Jujutsu Kaisen, better than Mob Psycho Season 2. What is this mystery show? Why is it rated so highly? What in it could possibly beat out so many well-ranked anime? And as per request from my subscribers, I will assume that anyone who put El Sai Kongru meant yes, and that even the people who said no meant yes because I was going to do this video regardless. I am back with another video on Link Click. I did one approximately 2 weeks ago. Before the series finished, I came at it with my thoughts, a summary of the plot and concept, my typical spiel, really. And at the time, I was still talking about how I loved it. But that feeling has magnified exponentially since the first season ended, just like with Odd Taxi actually. Which isn't surprising because both series ended with huge fucking cliffhangers. Let me ask you a question. How often do you see end-of-season cliffhangers in anime? Code Geass, Violet Evergarden, sure, there's a couple. But to have two in not just the same season, but in the two best shows of said season? Are you kidding me? But the fact that it has a cliffhanger is the only actual spoiler I will leave you with here in the intro of the video, because there is absolutely no way that I could afford to worsen your experience of watching the show yet, for those of you who have yet to get around to it, because it is just so amazing. But do be warned that there are some minor details about the story and characters, nothing specific about key plot points like that, but just enough to supplement the length of this video to fully encompass the greatness of the show. And thus, today is my fleshed out review of all of Link Click, the undisputed best anime of 2021. Now, if you're this far without knowing the concept of Link Click, then let me give you a quick rundown in Anime Culture Corner's concise, compressed, condensed, and every other C-letter word I could find in the thesaurus summary. We follow two main characters who can travel to the past through pictures. Chen Shaoshi, sorry if I mispronounced it, goes into the past through the bodies of the photo takers, and Lu Guang guides him telepathically in the present by telling him what happens in that timeline and what he must do to make sure nothing in the past changes at all. What he must say, how he must act. And people come to these two for various reasons and odd jobs, offering their old photos. So the duo can find hidden information from the past that can help in the future, because of course they can't, or rather won't, change the actual past. Finding a secret recipe from an old friend, saying goodbye to a past lover, you get the gist. It's an 11-episode time travel mystery thriller. Back to your regularly scheduled programming. As I prefaced in my last video, I love time travel. I wouldn't say that I'm a time travel know-it-all, in the sense that I'm nitpicky when it misses a certain theory or there's a small plot hole, but I will often notice them because I've seen a lot, and it's just a difficult concept to pull off in the first place. It's easy to make a mistake. Now, most anime take the simple approach of having someone come from the future to change the present. Vivi did this, Orange did this, the girl who leapt through time. Most time travel anime you can think of did this. And it's because it's easier to pull off. You don't really have to worry about paradoxes or nuances of time travel because the main present cast of characters are changing an unknown future. Everyone wants to make a better future, so the show actually encourages making a new timeline, changing the course of their story. It's easier to integrate into an actual story without having to explain much of it scientifically. Which is why I have even more respect for Link Click, because it tackles the other, more difficult to traverse side of the coin, going from the present and changing the past. Something that was mastered by Steins Gate, which set such a high standard for how it should be done. Changing the past inherently makes for a complex story. And not only does Link Click go for this more challenging approach, but it does it extremely tastefully, and truly expresses what I believe are both the beauties and horrors of time travel. Chen Xiaoshi and Lu Guang set up an essential premise from the start of the show. In fact, the rules of time travel that they self-impose are the very first words of the entire series. You get 12 hours. Chen must follow what Lu Guang says, who knows the entire timeline and what happens, and change nothing. And lastly, past or future, just let them be. Which comes to be the focal point of the series, and the very human and emotionally taxing challenge of having an opportunity extended in front of you, but having to force yourself not to take it. And this is what I meant by the horrors of time travel. Everyone has regrets. Even if you don't believe in regrets, there are always moments where you could have done something better, and Link Click is all about that. In the very first episode, we initially go into this girl's photo simply to get secret information from her boss. A relatively simple task, only to be unexpectedly thrown into a grief-stricken story of a broken and expectation-driven family as well. Chen, in the girl's body, wants to change things. He raises questions like, what will one small change do? I don't even know her, it won't even affect me. Which are all reasonable to think, because at this point in the story, the very beginning, we as viewers also have no idea how changing the past will affect the future. We agree with him. In Steins Gate, we had no idea about the real consequences of messing with time and how drastic they could be until that fateful moment where it hits us like a truck. Or, I guess, hits us like a train. Thank you. I'm here every week. And Chen decides to make a change. Yeah, he disobeyed rule number 2 right off the bat in the show. But it was just a text to her mom. So small and heartwarming that even us as viewers were willing to overlook it because, hey, what's it gonna do? But we immediately see the consequence at the end of the episode. Link Click proves to us in just the first 20 minutes, no time for slow burning, no build-up, that messing with time has real consequences. And truly sets us up for the rest of the show, immediately reels us into this series. When faced with immense, unavoidable loss that you might have the power to change, can you stop yourself from doing it? Even if it's someone else's life, someone you don't know, what likely won't ever affect you personally ever. Are you willing to hold yourself back for the sake of just being safe? I mean, you'll probably change the timeline, but there's that lingering thought in your mind, what if your actions don't? There's also the aspect throughout the show of skepticism, convincing yourself that maybe doing one small thing won't change anything significantly, that it'll all go right and well as you hope it will. Being in Chen Xiaoshi's shoes, having to live through these people, is horrifying, because there is not a person in this world who wouldn't want to act out in some of these moments. But you have to try to hold yourself back. Purposefully living through and literally recreating your regrets. Is there anything more horrifying than that? Excluding Junji Ito, of course, because, well, nothing's scarier than that. But not every story in Link Click is stricken with sadness, many of which are actually very beautiful and heartstring-pulling tales. The beauty of time travel, what I mentioned earlier, is in what we typically fantasize it to be, what it's put on a pedestal as, what could have been. And despite the darker side, the more realistic aspect of time travel and the butterfly effect and such consequences that the show dives into, this brighter side does exist, and Link Click emphasizes that good just as much as the bad. Shows like Orange almost focus entirely on the good of time travel, of replacing the terrible future with a better one. And on the other hand, anime like Steins Gate revolve entirely around the consequences of it and realizing that you never should have messed with it to begin with. Returning to the two different kinds of time travel stories, often when someone comes from the future to the present, it focuses on the good of time travel, while present to the past focuses on the bad, generally. And even though breaking the rules of time travel is Link Click's central theme, it balances those losses with the benefits of changing the past. Chen Xiaoshi and Lu Guang have the chance to reunite separated families in the present, and finally bring together star-crossed lovers who have never been able to be with each other, all by simply gathering information from the past and bringing it to the current age. Their job does have its merits, even if they can't change anything in the past. They still have an impact on people's lives that is irreplaceable. But you're always thinking, if they could change the past, if they were willing to, then that separated family never would have been separated. Those star-crossed lovers would have always been together. The temptation of changing the past has really never felt more real than it does in Link Click. And setting aside the content and time travel of the show for a moment, disconnecting myself and looking just at the production, pacing, logistics, it's all amazing. I said in my last video how the black bars add to a cinematic feel visually. It's something anime doesn't often do. And the opening and ending songs are just awesome and really bring the show up a whole notch, but what I want to focus on here is the pacing. The show is paced in a way that just about every single episode ends in a cliffhanger. It's not just the ending of the show. Honestly, I shouldn't have even been surprised it ended with a cliffhanger, because it's such a common trope in this anime that frankly few to no other anime even pull off or try to do. And the reason cliffhangers work so well with Link Click specifically is because it is a very episodic anime. The problem with episodic anime in my eyes, more often than not, is that the appeal of each episode doesn't last. It is contained to just the 20-minute duration of each episode of the series, which, while it isn't necessarily a bad thing on its own, becomes very difficult to binge through. It almost feels like watching multiple mini-movies and can get tiring. And cliffhangers, the power of cliffhangers, completely erases that. Every time you finish an episode of Link Click, it's almost just slapping you in the face and saying, wait, there's more. As someone who has watched anime for a long time, my prime binging days are past me. The days, or just one day actually, that I'm quite proud of, when I watched 46 episodes of One Piece in 24 hours are long gone, frankly. And I can only really binge series nowadays that I really enjoy or that are put together cohesively just like Link Click. Cliffhangers expand on the wow effect of any show, the kind that leaves you jaw-dropped at the end and wanting even more. And Link Click capitalizes on that and completely turns it into one of the most integral parts of this show's enjoyment. The bare bones of Link Click, the concept has been done before. The example that I immediately thought of when I began the series was Get Backers, a rather old anime around 2002 that also had these two main characters. One being kind of the brains and the other being the more charismatic and headstrong one, taking odd jobs for people. Also, time travel isn't new, nor are murder mysteries. So it's not like Link Click at base level really brings anything inherently new to the table. It's simply the way it's delivered and just how much it delivers. Action, suspense, thriller, romance, slice of life, hell, even sports. It is a show that is not afraid to dive into the more complex side of time travel and the suspense of a good murder mystery, that isn't scared to add in a bit of everything and do it all extremely well. And I just absolutely love it, especially considering it already faces an obstacle naturally as a donghua, a Chinese anime, the type of show that will always experience less interest from audiences or exposure just because it's not Japanese. It's incredibly rewarding to see such an ambitious series take off in the way it has, even if the actual audience that has seen it yet is small. The rating truly reflects how good the show is. And yes, that is the end of my second review on Link Click. If you guys have seen it since my first video, or just seen it in general, what do you think? Did you enjoy it? And if you haven't seen it yet, but somehow watched this entire video, I appreciate you, but are you excited to watch it now? Leave a comment. As always, this has been the Anime Culture Corner. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for future in-depth show, manga, and character analyses.